What's going on, people? Precise Progression 97, 100 shots in the Mental Mac 11. You're going to need them because we're at war. You know, not always physically, but spiritually for sure. And I'm just going to cut straight to the chase, man. This is about a nationwide phenomenon regarding an unfortunate death of a child. You know what I'm saying? Who didn't have the best, public perception, at least from the black community, at least, but he was still a victim, and he still lost his life over a situation that could have been handled way differently in many ways, right? But we already seen what happened. The verdict is in, and things happened the way they did. And the reason that things happened the way they did regarding the sentencing phase and the overall verdict of what happened to Karmelo Anthony, with him getting 35 years for a case that is similar to a case such as Case and Allison, who got 10 years for the same offense, right? But the procedures and when you fight these cases and a level of remorse that you show towards the victims, because regardless whether you feel like what you did was justified or not, a life was lost in a situation that was not an urban street war. It was not a military escalation. This was a track meet event in which Austin Metcalf, I stand on this, he had no authority to remove that kid from this tent, right? But I was enlightened on a video that was made 11 months ago, way before things even got into the sentencing phases, the trial phases, the verdict phases. And shout out to the brother who I watched so much of his content. I watched so much of this man's content, but I did not see that this man made a video 11 months ago telling us why Karmelo Anthony would get 20 years added to his sentence, the lead attorney. And he called out something that I kind of seen a certain way, but I wasn't really too quick on it, man. Look, first of all, we got to watch who we give these activist labels to, man. These people do not be scholars. These are not people that show the characteristics of a reformed individual of a troubled past. And he spoke against this dude who I was seeing a whole lot of in the build up to this case. You know what I'm saying? And and then you had Charleston White trying to jump on the situation. And I'm gonna be real. We can say what the activist dude could have did or what Charleston White could have did, but forget that. The parents were the problem. In a situation where your child is a model student who had a 3.7 GPA and even saved a kid from drowning one time. Of all the representation you could have chose, you chose I don't even want to call him an activist, bro, because the dude had I guess the dude has history of domestic violence where he beat his girl and he shook a child until the point he had brain damage. He has all this violent history, and none of that violence was against another grown man. But that's besides the point, because I'm not going to sit up here and say that anybody deserves to have violent things done to them. You got people that choose certain lifestyles, and that might come with the lifestyle that they choose. But forget all that. These were model students. These parents allowed a shock jock who disrespects dead people every other day, and an activist who disrespected the victim's father who wanted to pray with them, right? And let's be clear, me and a lot of my contemporaries, we come from a street background, a street culture where things happen, we have issues with people, and if something happens to them, we don't care. But that's because we chose that side of the fence. When you are trying to paint the suspect whose situation resulted in the death of another student at a track meet, you don't need shock jocks who disrespect dead people, Charleston White, and an activist with a questionable past who they can ridicule and also choose to disrespect the victim's father on national airways for everybody to see, and for everybody to see this dude in a light that is not beneficial towards the picture you're trying to paint for self-defense. The narrative is everything. And if you can control the narrative and the public perception of this case, then maybe Karmelo is more inclined on getting a self-defense verdict, or maybe a case analysis verdict where it gets dropped to criminally negligent homicide, and he probably gets 10 years, 5 years at the minimum. I already made a video about this, right? But what has me speaking is the fact that I was enlightened by the lead attorney's video in which he called this exact scenario playing out right after the activist dude. I'm not even gonna say his name. You know what I'm saying? It starts with a D, last name starts with an A. I'm not gonna say his name because y'all already probably know who he is. And this is about me giving coverage on a newfound perspective that I have seen, right? And I heard about this dude, and I even heard about that, right? But when I really got the lead attorney's perspective, it made me open my eyes as a person who understands the law. But I understand the law from the side of the criminal, because I have done crimes before. I changed my life, you know what I'm saying? I'm working now. I still go back and associate with some of my people from back then, but they gotta have stuff going on. They gotta have the mindset of elevation, productivity, and building something that's beneficial towards families, towards building strong families and strong communities where everybody wants to be productive and nobody wants to cause harm unless we defending what we built and what we got to our name. So boom, right? And when he painted this picture, it made, like, I kind of already understood it. Like, when I seen Charleston White get on it, I already kind of was half skeptical about that, because that dude has been a grifter his whole time here. If you take anything that a man like Charleston White says serious, you are one of them dudes who will get set up, took to a back alley, and left stanking because you was too gullible and believed something that you wasn't supposed to believe, and it resulted in you getting lined up and left in an alleyway somewhere. You know what I'm saying? If you take anything that man says serious, but it's not their fault because we knew who he was. He's made a lot of money being who he was, and he even give a few messages here and there that you can take for what you want with it. But when you have these type of people representing what is supposed to be a model student that has saved a life before, you gotta have real counsel. You gotta have legitimate counsel that can break down and give you a textbook way to win the battle of public perception. Because without that, you make an uphill battle a mountain climbing battle. And that's not what we need for situations of like what we just watched happen. And it's unfortunate, man, because that man's down there, and, you know, it is what it is now at this point, you know what I'm saying? Because me and my friend had a conversation about this as well, and we pretty much discussed how my group, we come from the last generation of punching, of really, you know what I'm saying, of using hands because it's more, it's a better alternative than just poking a knife in somebody's chest or shooting a man down because he put his hands on you. You know what I'm saying? We grew up playing sports. We grew up hooping all day. We used to bring the boxing gloves to the field, and we used to get our recreation, and, you know what I'm saying, we used to get our mental straightening in, you know what I'm saying, with physical combat, with physical activities. It don't even got to be combat, just physical activities in general. So basically, we just had a viewpoint like, man, we come from the generation that believed in physical combat before that. And if it gets to that, then, you know, hey, you know what I'm saying, it is what it is. But the thing is, one of us probably would have went to the fight and took the ass whooping if it came our way. You know what I'm saying? And I even watched a panel of some you know what I'm saying, upstanding black brothers, you know what I'm saying? And they was pretty much saying the same thing. Like, since when did it get to, like, who before probably the year of 2012 didn't have a high school fight or didn't have a big brawl where they fight, people got split up and walked off campus? That doesn't happen no more, man. People are shooting, killing, stabbing, doing everything but using these right here. So I advise every young black, you know what I'm saying, young man, period, you know what I'm saying, because I don't even want to make it race unified. Just everybody in general, man, learn to keep yourself in physical shape. All the youngsters, keep yourself in physical shape, keep yourself upright, keep yourself sharp on all facets, so you don't have to fear for your life just because somebody puts their hands on you. Fight back. You know what I'm saying? And that's an approach to take, but we can't tell a person whether how much they feared for their life or not. You know what I'm saying? Because they couldn't tell George Zimmerman that. They couldn't tell Rick Chow that. They couldn't tell these people how much they feel for their life. So why do we get to tell other people that look like us, oh man, well, you should have just took the whooping, when other people have not taken the whooping? They've escalated with a weapon, and it's still been justified in court that they act rightfully in self-defense. So my people, we got to understand that as well. But at the end of the day, man, the lead attorney was right. They botched this case and they had bad representation. That activist dude who was representing this man, who was representing Karmelo Anthony, and he did that to that man's father while trying to plead self-defense, y'all. I know we feel like, man, we don't owe nobody no remorse. We don't owe nobody no understanding. My people have this mind frame that it's just like that. But when we're talking about a court of law situation where you're trying to paint yourself as a potential victim, viable for self-defense, y'all can't be out here showing no remorse like we did that. That's not how self-defense works. It has to be a level of remorse when you're trying to operate from this side of the law and push for certain results. We got to understand how the law works instead of blaming them for the reason that we get railroaded and sent up the road. It's a victim mentality, and that's not how we advance and go beyond where we're at as people. You know what I'm saying? As black people, you know what I'm saying? I've identified with the black demographic my whole life. You know what I'm saying? My whole upbringing is of black culture, of urban environments. You know what I'm saying? I didn't grow up around my mama's side of the family, so this is what I understand about how we come up. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, people take bad approaches. The parents, they chose bad representation because I guess they were in panic mode, and the activist dude made it sound so convincing that he had the best interest of the family, which who knows? He might have actually had that. But his background and his viewpoint and the way he approached this dude's family while trying to be viable for self-defense, it was foolish. It was idiotic. It was bad strategy. And somebody should have told him that instead of waiting for the verdict and then being like, oh, man. Because me, I wasn't really too available. Like, I just looked at the caseload itself. I wasn't too hip on the variables and other things that played a part in that. Because I didn't know about the activist dude having that pass until I think 1090 Jake said something about it right before the verdict. And then I come up on that lead attorney video and he said the exact same thing 11 months ago as a former attorney who I guess has a pretty good acumen as a lawyer, man. But that's what it is. And you know, I can't really turn no stones, but this is for future people, man. Understand what you're doing and what you're getting yourself into if you're going to do something. And I'm not even saying that because that could be an act of premeditation, being like, oh, okay, I know the law, so if I do this, I can get away with this. Now, man, everybody should look to be productive and build upright civilizations. Keep yourself sharp physically and mentally. That way, you don't feel like you got to fear for your life when somebody puts their hands on you. Get in that gym, man. Hit some pads. Do some working out. Do some light sparring with somebody who can teach you some things. So our children don't have the excuses that they fear for their life because somebody put their hands on them. And we don't come from this place where physical combat is a measure to handle a conflict and everybody just got to shoot everybody and stab everybody. You know what I'm saying? In our generation, you were soft if you had to do that. And this is from somebody who has an assault case with a blade. But of course, I just had a surgically repaired knee. And I would have pushed for self-defense if I had the counsel or the financial means to do so, but I took my time on the chin. I took what came with what I did. I took what came with my actions. And I wasn't trying to paint a picture that I know wasn't going to stick, especially without the financial and legal backing. So people got to understand this, man. Karmelo Anthony was a model student. And the way that situation played out, I feel like he was definitely viable for a lesser charge of manslaughter. But the approach and the way his parents presented his counsel, and you got Charleston White coming in, who has been a grifter the whole time. The fact that you could take anything close to his support serious, that blew my mind. I don't even get it. Like, that was just so, like, bro, like his parents, bro, like I question their intelligence to the max. I don't get it, bro. But you know, it's unfortunate though. A kid lost his life, and a young model student got 35 years because of what I've been talking about this whole video. You know what I'm saying? But man, y'all stay on code, man. Precise progression. Keep unlimited shots in your mental Mac 11. We're gonna need it because we at war. You know what I'm saying? Not physically, but spiritually and politically. You know what I'm saying? Y'all have a good one. Stay up.